I don't drive at night anymore. It started on a Tuesday. I was 22, working the closing shift at a warehouse 40 minutes outside the city. Nothing but cornfields and silence between there and home. That night, I clocked out at 11:45. Parking lot was empty. My car sat alone under one flickering light. I remember thinking the back door looked off, like it wasn't fully shut, but the lot had cameras. Nobody was around. I told myself I was being paranoid. I got in, started the engine, pulled onto the highway. It was about 10 minutes in. I glanced at the rearview mirror. There was a man in my back seat, not moving, not blinking, just sitting there, staring at the back of my head. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My throat closed completely. He was middle-aged, thin face, dark coat. His hands rested on his knees like he'd been waiting there all day, like he was a passenger I'd agreed to take. I kept driving. That's the part I still don't understand. I kept driving. "I saw you at the warehouse," he said. His voice was quiet, almost gentle. "You always leave at 11:45, every Tuesday." He knew my schedule. He'd been watching me for weeks. He told me to keep driving, not to stop, not to look at him. He talked the whole way about how he'd lost his job 6 months ago, how his wife took the kids, how he spent his nights now just watching people, learning their patterns, finding ones who looked kind. "You looked kind," he said. 20 minutes passed, then 30. He directed me onto smaller roads, dirt roads, roads so dark I couldn't see the edges. "Stop here." We were in the middle of nowhere, woods on both sides, no houses, no lights, nothing. He sat in silence for what felt like forever. Then he said, "You can go now." I didn't understand. "Go," he said. "You didn't scream. You didn't threaten me. You just listened. That's all I wanted." I drove home at 90 miles an hour, called the police. They found him 2 days later sleeping in someone else's unlocked car. He never hurt anyone. The officer said he probably never would. He just wanted to be seen. But I still checked my back seat, every single time. I worked the night desk at a motel nobody stays at twice. It was off Highway 9, 30 miles from anywhere. 10 rooms, faded paint, a sign that buzzed so loud you could hear it from the parking lot. I was 25, college dropout. The job paid $9 an hour and came with a free room. It was the kind of place where guests paid in cash and didn't ask for receipts. That's why I didn't think much of him. He checked in around 2 a.m. Tall, dark jacket, no luggage. He paid for one night with a crumpled 20 and signed the register as J. Cole. I gave him room 4. He took the key without a word. At 3 a.m. I heard a door open, footsteps on the walkway. I looked out the office window. He was standing in the parking lot, facing the highway, completely still. I watched him for 5 minutes. He didn't move. At 4 a.m. I checked again. Still there, same position. Cars passed on the highway. He didn't turn his head. At 5 a.m. I went outside. "Sir, everything okay?" He turned, slowly. His eyes were wide, too wide, like he hadn't blinked in hours. "Room 4 has a mirror," he said. I nodded. "All our rooms have mirrors. There's someone behind it." I told him that wasn't possible. The mirror was mounted to drywall. There was nothing behind it but framing and insulation. He shook his head. I heard breathing. I walked him back to room 4, showed him the mirror, knocked on it. Solid, nothing. "See," I said, "just a mirror." He stared at it for a long time. Then he nodded, apologized, said he'd been driving too long. I went back to the office, filed the paperwork, forgot about it. He was gone by morning. 3 weeks later, the motel closed for renovations. New owner, new everything. A construction crew came in to gut the rooms. They found something in room 4, behind the mirror. A space, hollowed out, big enough for a person to stand in. Inside, a chair, empty water bottles, a notepad, And on every page of that notepad, written over and over in different handwriting, I watched them sleep. Police said the space had been there since the 80s, at least 4 different handwriting samples. They never matched any of them. I don't work nights anymore. I moved into the apartment on a Saturday, 3rd floor, 1 bedroom, the kind of place where you can hear your neighbors breathe through the walls. The first week was quiet, too quiet. I work from home, so I noticed everything. The way footsteps stopped outside my door. The way my mail seemed to shift positions before I picked it up. The way I'd come home to find lights on that I knew I'd turned off. I told myself it was the wiring. Old building. Happens all the time. Then the notes started. The first one was under my door. Handwritten. Neat cursive on yellow paper. Welcome to the building. Apartment 3B. I didn't think much of it. I left a note back saying, thanks, friendly, neighborly. The next note came 2 days later. You have beautiful hands. I stopped leaving notes back. A week passed, nothing. I started to relax. Then I came home to find my bedroom window open. 3rd floor. No fire escape, no ledge, just a sheer drop to the parking lot. And on my pillow, another note. I like the way you sleep. I called the police. They knocked on every door in the building. Nobody in 3B. The apartment was empty, had been for 6 months. They told me to change my locks. I did. That night I heard breathing through my bedroom wall. Steady, rhythmic. Someone was lying on the other side matching my position. I didn't sleep at all. The next morning the landlord let me into the unit next to mine. Empty, dust, a single chair facing the wall that connected to my bedroom. And on that chair, a stack of notes. Dozens of them, all in the same handwriting. Some were about my routines, what time I showered, what I ate for dinner, which side of the bed I slept on. But the last note was different. Tonight, I won't just watch. I broke my lease that day, moved out while the sun was still up, stayed on a friend's couch for 2 months. I never found out who it was. But sometimes at night, I wake up certain there's someone in the room with me, standing in the corner, watching. And every time I look, there's nothing there. I don't know which is worse.